got to do it in about
All right,
20
3,
minutes.
2, 1, 0. We are rolling. I'll do another countdown when I sit down. Another 3, 2, 1 after I get settled here. Get in front of the microphone here so we can.
When you give me the count, I'll get straight. How's my hat look?
Your hat looks great. Your glasses look great.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. 3, 2, 1, 0. Hi, this is John Fogg. I've been a radio DJ for the past 30 years or so, right up until COVID, and then I took a hiatus, and I haven't done a radio show since. In fact, this podcast will be the first radio or podcast or anything media in about 2 years. So I'm here today with my friend Bob Barrows. He's a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army. He used to fly Hueys during Vietnam, so that's his claim to fame. And I'm going to introduce something here. It's called the Populist Party platform. I was thinking about the populist movement, and there's been a groundswell and a grassroots movement that's been uprising. And I was just thinking about what that would look like if we actually hashed out what we really believe and what our tenets should be for the Populist Patriot Party platform. So here are 13 tenets that I came up with. Okay, I'm going to read from my iPad here. Okay, and tenet number 1 is a vote of no confidence in the present government. These present crises are ipso facto a direct result of the Democratic Socialist Party misguided or intentionally damaging policies. Tenet number 2, we recognize that, and this is a fact, the election was stolen through ballot stuffing and computer hacking of Dominion voting machines. The truth is being suppressed in unrighteousness. Illegal votes, illegitimate votes, the voting system is broken. Therefore, we no longer recognize it as having any bearing over us. Tenet number 3, we recognize the sovereignty of the legitimate U.S. government and the sovereignty of states and the individual sovereignty of its citizens. Tenet number 4, we are the moral majority. We will no longer be silent. We are the head and not the tail. No longer will the tail be wagging the dog. The 2% will no longer rule and reign over the 98%. Tenet number 5, we uphold our solemn oath to uphold the Constitution and reserve our right to wage war against all enemies of our Constitution, both foreign and domestic. Tenet number 6, we affirm and uphold the Second Amendment right to assemble militia groups for the protection of our citizens' lives and property. Tenet number 7, the Socialist Democratic Party has declared war on the American people. Good is called evil by them. Evil is called good. They have identified patriots, promise keepers, and oath keepers as domestic terrorists, while affirming real terrorist groups like Antifa and BLM as mostly peaceful. This is unfortunate and ultimately can only lead to civil war, which I do not recommend. Tenet number 8, the USA is a sovereign nation and will never bow or kowtow to foreign interests. The UN or the WHO or any other globalist organization, known or secretive, will ever have dominion over the USA. Tenet number 9, the two-party system gives the illusion of choice. Aided by the leftist-controlled media, both have been corrupted, so we choose neither. Tenet number 10, Taxation without representation is tyranny. This administration does not represent the views of the Populist Patriot Party. Therefore, it is null and void in its bearing and rule over us. Tenet number 11. Our allegiance is to the true and living God of the universe, Father Jehovah God, Yeshua HaMashiach, Messiah, Jesus the Christ, and the Holy Spirit. We are on the Lord's side and no other. Tenet number 12. The petrodollar has been devalued to the point that it is worthless. The Lord says, the gold is mine and the silver is mine. We shall return to the gold and silver standards by only using gold and silver certificates redeemable in gold or silver. Tenet number 13. Term limits are necessary. Senators, congressmen, presidents, and babies need to be changed frequently for the same reasons. They are all FOS, and we all know what that means. So that's all I have to say about that. As Forrest Gump would say, that's all I got to say about that. So I'm
Well,
gonna give
I'd like to say this about that. All my life, I looked like a Jack Kennedy, so I learned to talk like him. Go ahead, sir.
All right. I love your JFK impression there,
Well, I
buddy.
love your Forrest Gump.
So I'm going to give the floor to you, Bob, and tell us a little bit about yourself and about your run for senator of the state of Florida.
Yeah, I am currently, tomorrow is our primary in Florida. I'm running against Marco Rubio and the hopes to defeat him and then go on to defeat the Democrat who they put up, Val Demings, but she doesn't really stand much of a chance the way the way she's been portrayed by the sheriff's department, the police department, and even though she was the one-time chief of police in Orlando, she hadn't done anything in Congress except rubber stamp Nancy Pelosi's things and that sort. And Marco Rubio did a magnificent job of taking care of her for me when I defeat him, if I defeat him. But anyway, that being said, I was born in Connecticut. I was Catholic, raised and went to the seminary to be a priest as a high schooler. Decided that that wasn't really for me because I wanted to have children. So I backed out of that and went off to Assumption College in Worcester, Mass. At Kennedy Endowed School. From there, as a senior in 1968, in March 14th, when Bobby Kennedy announced for the presidency, I formed the Intercollegiates of Worcester for Robert Kennedy. And we didn't have a political science department in Assumption, so I went across town to our rivals at Holy Cross, linked up with the chairman of the poli-sci department, and told him what I was about. And I asked him if he knew anyone who might be able to help me out, be a co-chairman for me. He said, yeah, Bobby Fortier. I said, when can I meet him? He said, stick around, he'll be here in 30 minutes for class. So I did, I waited, and I introduced myself, told him what I was about, and asked him if he'd like to co-chair with me. He said yes. The next thing in sequence was I came back to my school. It hadn't been more than 2 hours that I announced the Intercollegiates for Worcester. Intercollegiates for Worcester for Robert Kennedy, but news travels, I don't even know how. When I got back, the richest kid in the class of mine, senior class of Assumption, came up to me and said, hey, I'd like to be one of your chairmen, can I be a co-chairman with you? I said, I already got one of them, the triumvirates don't work. Sit down, write me a check and you can be the treasurer. So he wrote me a check that today's dollars, well back then it got me a month and a half in a downtown storefront that I was able to basically put a partition between, bring in 30 phones, brought in the women because I knew the men would follow, and then had a back room where we had a dance party after people finished working. It was a rotating shift, went pretty much from 8 in the morning, or actually 9 because we don't want to call before 9, all the way up to about 9 at night. And so there were different shifts, and after the shift they could go through the sound. I had to build a soundproof barrier, and they let me do that. We had everything anyone would ever want. By that I mean a record player with music, and back then it was vinyls, and I had them, and other people contributed. We had food, cake, and candy, and all that. So it was great, and it worked out wonderfully, such that Channel 4 came down and interviewed us. I've been known to be pretty loquacious, but when the lights went on, I froze. And I was lucky that I had Bobby Fortier there. He picked it up beautifully, and it went on very smoothly. It was an hour-long interview. Anyway, I don't want to overdo this. The next thing that happened was...
I've never known you to leave any air in the conversation, Bob. You've
Okay.
always had something to say.
Yeah, but I froze when the lights came on.
Oh.
It was like I was caught like a deer in the headlight. So anyway, after Bobby liked what we did, the 14th of March to the 30th of April, when we had the primary there, Democratic primary, he liked what I did. He called me a couple days later and invited me to, said, thank you so much, and I'd like you to work for me. I said, in what capacity, sir? He said, I'd like you to be one of my advisors. I said, advisor? You mean I'd be on your cabinet? That's how dumb I was. No, son. He said, no. You just tell me your job would be to go around the country and every 6 months report back to me what the youth of America thought of my presidency and how we could improve it. So I said, well, sir, you know, I'm just getting out of Assumption. I'll be graduating next month, and I don't think I'm not sure I could do that. He said, listen, Bob, your best will be more than I'll ever need. And I don't know if he meant that as a compliment or a slight, but I said, sir, based on that, I will work for you. So for a couple months, I
think that was a compliment, Bob.
Oh, I'll take it as such. Thank
Okay.
you. That's
Yeah.
From your mouth, from God's telling you, I'll take it. And I always believed it was too. He's just too fine a gentleman to ever, you know.
So let me ask you one question. What is the one thing you would like to change about Florida politics?
One thing?
Yeah.
How about everything?
Everything, okay.
Yeah, I don't see much good. I mean, we have
Well,
Marco
you
Rubio.
do have a good governor in Florida.
Oh yeah,
with
absolutely.
DeSantis.
I would not change DeSantis. I hope he runs for president.
Yeah, me too.
But I've talked to
Yes.
him. I've talked to him, and I haven't talked to him. I've talked to his aides, and they say that he doesn't want to run for president. He likes being the governor, and
Yeah.
so I think he'll.
Well, I think we like him being the governor.
Yeah, at least
too.
at least till Trump.
I
gets
wish we
another
had
term.
more governors like him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In all 50 states.
Yeah, we don't want to put him up in a contest with Trump, you know.
No, we don't.
We hope that Trump will actually take the lead as the president in this new platform that we've rolled out, that he came up with. This man did right here. And this is a man of God. And I know that it was God who gave us those tenets through him. Much like Joseph in a dream was told to take the Christ child and go flee to Egypt. Anyway, or anywho, as I like to say, I'm thrilled with DeSantis. I'm upset with my opponent because he never shows up to vote. Of the 100 votes, that 100% of the time for the senior votes, he's only made 10% of the votes. That means 90% of the time he's not there to vote. So that's not good. If he was working for Pfizer or General Motors or something and he didn't show up, he wouldn't have a job. And also for the regular votes, you know, I've heard, I have to verify this, but I've heard that he only shows up for 25% of the votes. So, you know, when a man doesn't work, a man shouldn't get a paycheck. So I'm hoping that tomorrow I'll defeat him, and then we won't have to worry about that, because Army retired lieutenant colonel, and I loved to work. Used to work from 5:30 every morning for 22 years, up and running. 5 miles a day run, back, shower, get to the office by 7:30, work until about sundown, and loved it. And the days that I was a pilot and had to fly, I had to stay in the office and catch up on the work because I was the commander and I had to sign key information every day. And so I usually 10 o'clock. I'm a workaholic, I guess, but I love every minute of it. And my dad said, find something you love and you'll never work another day in your life. And for me, that's the Army.
That's right.
Specifically aviation.
You got to find what your passion is and,
Correct.
and do that.
Correct. But my mother gave me.
Then you'll never be bored.
Yeah. Not only will you never be bored, the time will pass like you can't even believe.
Yeah.
And it's not like work.
Right. It's more like fun.
Yes, it was fun. I used to look at my co-pilot and say,
Yep.
can you believe they're paying us for this?
That's what I used to say every time I did a DJ for a wedding or a youth event. So it's like, wow, I get to do this and I get paid too?
Yeah.
Great. In fact, the first paycheck I ever got from WSUB when I worked the Sunday Harvest program, I laughed for 2 reasons. Number one, that the paycheck was so small, and number two, I was actually getting a paycheck at all.
Yeah, there you go.
Because up until then, I was just volunteering on college radio and volunteering, doing audio video stuff at church and stuff. And for many years, I was just a volunteer. And I'm fortunate to have a job now. I got a job recently at one of the casinos. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm working doing audio over there, and I enjoy that thoroughly. And actually, I was thrilled to finally get a paycheck attached to that. That passion that I've always had for doing audio stuff. So it's nice to get a paycheck attached to it.
It is. Yeah. Luckily for me, the Army was pretty good, pretty regular, and
Yep.
they've continued in retirement. I've never missed a pay from them yet.
Yep. Yep.
In fact, I can't believe how much I get in retirement.
Very rewarding career. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, after that, when Bobby hired me as a presidential advisor elect, because he wasn't president yet, so it has to be elect. So I was thrilled. I knew that my life was made in spades with working for him. I loved the Kennedys. I lived just like Jack all my life, and consequently, I really got on board with getting to know him and his policies. And Bobby was actually the brains behind Jack's presidency. Bobby would have made a fantastic president. It's a shame that Sirhan shot him on my mother's birthday, the 5th of June of 1968. Which reminds me, my mother told me, Bob, she sat me down as a young tyke, and she said, Bob, you can't get out of this world alive, so every day do the most good you can for the most amount of people. And those are words to live by. I try to live by them. I know this gentleman does.
Those are great words to live by.
What a beautiful, wise mother I had and father. In fact, I'm happy to say that I could say truthfully, if I were half the man my father was, I'd be the second greatest man on earth, discounting, of course, the Lord. And my sisters could say pretty much the same thing about my mother. I just let them do it because it's in the woman's circle.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be raised in a Christian home. You got that good influence on you as you're growing up.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I think that wraps up. The only thing I could say after that would be off to the Army when Bobby was killed because I was drafted. Quickly went through OCS, became a commissioned officer, flew for many years, had many warrant officers that worked for me, and they used to call us commissioned officers RLOs, but it was really a term of derision. RLO stands for real live officer. See, they
as opposed to the alternative, right?
Well, not death in life, no.
Oh, okay.
In other words, we had to be commissioned through Congress. They didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Okay.
so we were real live officers. They were, just wannabes.
Okay.
But if I had known what the warrant officer program was before I took the OCS. I had to go on warrant because they flew all the time.
Yep.
And I was an infantry officer, so I had to go 3 years infantry and then 3 years aviation. So I loved it. Most ethical organization I ever worked for in the Army. You would shake a hand with a guy and it would be done. It didn't hurt that you could put him in jail if he didn't, or in the brig if he didn't do what you said with the rank structure. But it really never came to any of that. When I got out, I got into the entertainment, literary, and sports management business, and there you needed a pile of spec to contract to do a deal. And if they didn't like the deal, they'd just get a bigger contract and supersede yours. And I was warned by the owner of the place that the Rolling Stones worked out for 2 months prior to the Seal Wheels tour. It was Toad's place in New Haven, big hangout for the Yaleys. Anyway, he told me, he said, "Bob, you're too nice a guy. Aren't you going to get raped here by these guys?" I said, "Well, no, I have the guidance of God." And that's enough to say.
All right, well, that concludes our real live video podcast here. So we're going to try to turn this into a podcast and also probably a YouTube video, so you can watch this on YouTube. And we're also going to post it on Bob's Facebook page, and I'm going to post it on my Facebook page as well.
And we're hoping to get Joe Rogan.
Yeah, we're hoping we can get a hold of Joe Rogan and get a copy of this over to him. So maybe we'll be doing the Joe Rogan circuit.
Go viral.
Maybe a
with
few
him.
other, maybe, who knows?
He has 100 million viewers.
Perhaps we can go viral with this.
He has
so.
100 million viewers, so
Yeah.
it's all in his hands.
But so we're just gonna
Sign off.
sign off and just see where this goes. Until next time, be good. All right, I think that went rather well.
I do too. Can I see it? Just a minute of it to see how it looks. What do you think? Maybe, was the volume up enough?